All right, let's get this thing rolling. Good afternoon, everybody. We really appreciate you logging in to our April 2021 TELS Service Network webinar. It has been a while since we've all been together, so I'm going to give just a few housekeeping items. One, I'm John Walter, the Executive Vice President and General Manager of the TELS business. I've had the luxury of meeting many of you, certainly not all of you, and this is as well as we can do for now, and we hope we can all gather in person at some point in the future. Just a few notes as we get rolling. All of you are on mute. I cannot hear you, but we do have a chat function in the WebEx. So hopefully, if you're able to, if you're not driving, you've logged into the webinar so you can see the graphics on the screen. If you look on the right side of your screen, you should see a chat function. Please feel free to enter questions in there, and we'll address as many of them as we possibly can at the end. We try to keep these things very timely. We know that you're all very busy, so if we run out of time, we'll respond to you in writing afterwards. So we'll just get to work here and get through as much content as we possibly can. It was a tough year for the senior living profession. I think that goes without saying because all of you have had access to the news and the headlines. I think probably the most telling headline was that more than 40% of COVID deaths happened in the buildings we serve. And clearly, just a devastating toll emotionally and financially on the companies that we all serve. And we're very proud of the role that we played with all of you to help our industry get through this really terrible situation. Improvisation was the name of the game throughout all of 2020, and we did so with all of you. So now you should all see a line graph that shows the census levels or occupancy levels in the senior living profession. And so along with the devastating death tolls came this lack of occupancy because patients are not being discharged into senior living facilities. As we improvised with all of you, we surveyed you for mask preparedness, asked you if your technicians had availability to PPE. And then we indicated that on our mobile app to our customers, and they loved this. As you all might recall, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was hard to access PPE, and for them to know all the service providers that would show up mask equipped was a very big deal, and we were able to have that manifest digitally in our mobile app. We supplied PPE to all of you to protect your technicians, not just from infecting residents in the communities we serve, but also to protect your technicians as they serve all of their customers. We asked you guys to comply with a lot of very wonky protocols. You remember them all, and it was tough because it varied by state, by county, by city, and by building, and you managed a way to improvise. And lastly, we were asking your technicians to go into the line of fire to serve our country's most vulnerable population, and you did so with grace, and you did so with higher service levels than we've ever seen before. We're so grateful for all of it. We had some really big wins throughout this hell. We were able to supply PPE to thousands of senior living buildings that otherwise had no access, and this ended up saving thousands of lives. Cleaning supplies were distributed nationwide as well. Direct Supply was able to access inventory of cleaning supplies that otherwise weren't available to help with the cleaning protocols across the country. We ended up erecting new software to help operators create separation units and transform normal nursing homes into COVID units and protect the folks that weren't sick from those who were. And we also launched a new technology called needle-point bipolar ionization. Many of the HVAC providers on the phone have been installing it for us like crazy across the country. And it has been really fun for us because now we can look back at the data. And where that technology was installed, we saw an unbelievable 41% decline in the risk of transmission of COVID. And so we're very excited about identifying technologies that can be applied to the future of senior care for the next flu season and for the next norovirus outbreak. We think the work we did with our service network is really going to change how we care for America's elderly. But our customers operate businesses, and the proof is in the pudding. This graph that you see shows the unbelievably negative impact of the pandemic on occupancy. So you see a very steep decline on your screen all the way through January of this year. And something important happened in January. We started vaccinating all of our staff members and residents, and you see that we're starting to march back, but still 15% below occupancy rates pre-pandemic. And that means a 15% reduction in revenue, and our customers are struggling to stay on top. This is why I highlight the fact that direct supply plays bank for our service network. We've seen a few small operators go into bankruptcy. A few of the large ones are teetering on the edge, and we're hoping they don't go into bankruptcy. But in all cases, direct supply protects our service network from that risk because we are in this industry for the long haul. We will manage to find a way to collect some way, somehow, or not. The most important thing for us is the solvency of our service network, though, and that's why as long as you keep on focusing on great service, we'll make sure that you get paid for performing that great service. So what I'd like to do is dwell on more of the upward trajectory. So if we could please advance the slide. So senior living will emerge stronger as a result of the pandemic, and so will the TELS Building Services business along with all of you. We talk a lot about in this business about we only grow with our service network. In fact, we are incapable of growth and success without successful partners. And so it's important that we collectively grew this business straight through the greatest black swan of our lives. And resilience was the key. Our P1 responsiveness, so our emergency responsiveness, increased throughout the pandemic, where our service providers were able to get on site faster. But beyond just the pandemic impacts, we saw hurricanes and snowstorms and wildfires all last year, met by the heroics of your companies. And direct supply often says service and then sales, then profits. It's kind of our credo. The whole point is that service above all else. And if we do that well, we earn the right to grow. And shame on us if we can grow and not find a way ultimately to be profitable. And our network lived this out every single day over the past year. And I think that's why when you see the bar graph on the screen, that's why we were able to grow throughout this terrible time. Because even though our customers needed fewer services and they prevented people from entering their buildings, when they did need that service, they wanted to do it through us because they knew that they could rely on us together. There are a few signs, positive signs, for senior living as we look forward into the future that make me really bullish about the future of our partnership as a service network. Number one is that infection prevention measures are going to be reformed. I think everyone learned a little bit about how to be safer over the last 12 months. Senior living facilities were no exception. And as infection prevention measures are reformed, so too will the physical plants to help implement them. And I think as we adjust the physical plants in senior living, our service network is going to play an integral role in that and should spell for really big opportunities. The second one is the impact of socialization. We saw some really terrible consequences of the necessary COVID response was that the residents in our buildings were lacking socialization. The reason that you go to a senior living facility is to be around other people, people in similar life stages, to interact with them, to be able to socialize. And because of that, the role of senior living will only grow in society. And we're already seeing this trend as we emerge from the pandemic. There will be more assisted living and senior living facilities because socialization is, in fact, so important. And then the last encouraging sign as we look forward is infrastructure modernization. To the tune of trillions of dollars. And so if you could advance to the next slide, I want to go a little bit deeper into that. So again, I suspect many of you are reading the headlines, sometimes probably not loving what you see. But one of the big themes that you will see is a once-in-a-generation investment in senior living coming our way. And funds are really flooding our economy as a whole right now. And you happen to be directly in the middle of a massive fight to reinvent senior care for these generations to come. Direct Supply is a very active government relations team, and you've heard us discuss them before. That team was smack dab in the middle of securing $15 billion in direct relief through the CARES Act. Those funds will be used to help our operators survive this storm. We also secured $12.7 billion of grant money for building upgrades and recovered losses for some of the financial consequences of last year. The American Rescue Plan then delivered $350 billion to states to be appropriated by governors. And we are now working with our government relations team, with all of the state healthcare associations and the governor's offices to make sure that that money is used for effective purposes to position senior living for the future. And then lastly, and probably most notably, we have the upcoming Biden infrastructure bill to the tune of trillions. We don't know how many trillions, and even over the next several days, more of that will unfold. But trillions of dollars will be invested, and we think that many billions of those trillions will go directly to senior care. I can give you some insight into how those funds will be allocated because we are helping drive that agenda on Capitol Hill. We're going to see a lot of emphasis on air quality, a lot of emphasis on epidemiological surveillance. I think the bigger themes will likely be how can we monitor sewage water to identify pathogens before symptoms exist and isolate sick people before outbreaks occur. We're going to see a lot of investment in infection prevention measures. That's both the infrastructure, the buildings, and the behaviors inside the building. We'll see Wi-Fi infrastructure enhancements to support things like telehealth, where we need really strong Wi-Fi. And as you all know, the Wi-Fi connectivity is not great in many senior living communities across the country. And then there's an overwhelming theme of converting from multi-resident rooms to single occupancy rooms, because clearly that makes the occupants safer. Managing all these changes will take hundreds of billions of dollars over several years. So we take this work we're doing on Capitol Hill very seriously, and we thank you for your help, which leads me to my next point on the next slide, please, which is senior living advocacy. So senior living advocacy is the industry's secret to success, because behind the scenes, this network of suppliers and service providers for direct supply have been fueling all of our efforts on Capitol Hill to influence the legislators that end up determining the fate of how we serve our aging population. So as a member of the Senior Living Advocacy Group, all of our service providers get tools and resources and opportunities to grow in senior healthcare, our business at Direct Supply. That includes things like data, networking with our executive team to get insights how to succeed in this profession, marketing support, and more. The membership levels range from $25,000 down to $2,500, and this is not meant to be a commercial, but because we are talking about the appropriation of many billions of dollars, I just wanted you to be aware of the role that you and your peers in our service network are already playing and driving those agendas. And if you're not already participating, you got an email, I think, in March from your market manager on how to join. We have another event coming up on October 7th, and we would love to see you all there. Now, moving forward, I just have 3 updates for this group in terms of how the business is going to be evolving over the next year, because with all these changes, we think that spells a very big opportunity for us to continue our growth trajectory together. The first one is simply that our network continues to grow very rapidly with you. The middle of the pandemic exposed the need for broader capabilities from our customers' perspective. They were asking us, why can't you serve more of our buildings? So in August of last year, TELS Building Services was in 81 markets across the United States. And sitting here today, we sit at more than 160 markets, meaning we doubled the size of our footprint and have completely changed the kinds of conversations we can have with our customers. So, implication is for all of you, we want to know, we need to know where you are and where your companies can serve to take advantage of this growth. It is possible that we have now entered zip codes that you have the capability of serving, but we don't know it. And if we don't know it, then we can't display that to our customers. And so please take advantage of the growth of our network, because our preferred method of growth is leveraging our existing partnerships, all of you on the line right now, and sending the business your way. That brings me to my next point, which is how we intend to send the business your way. And that's growth through strategic corporate partnerships. Now, I've reiterated on these calls for years the power of our C-suite relationships. One thing we've learned over the last 12 months is that we have not been leveraging those C-suite relationships for contracted service partnerships with our customers as much as we should have. And, the opportunity is real. In the past week alone, we've had meetings with the CEOs of 4 of the largest 5 senior living corporations in the country, and that represents thousands of buildings. And now that we have this broader service network, we doubled the number of markets that we're in. It really changes the tenor of those conversations with those CEOs, because we can say a much higher proportion of their buildings can now be served by TELS Building Services. And so this new approach is saying not just we have these capabilities, but sign a contract. We want to find deep commitments with high levels of compliance, where in this state or this region or exclusively in this service category, it's flexible based on customer need, you're locked and loaded for 100% of your business. And we're seeing really strong preliminary results. We already have 8 new corporations in these committed contracts. We have several more on the brink of signing. And we think by the end of this year, we are going to see a material difference in the velocity of our revenue growth because of this new go-to-market approach. And I'd ask you to hold us accountable to that, because you should all feel that coming your way as the year progresses. And then the last theme is one that we hear a lot about in the TELS world, which is sustained investment in our service provider technology. One of the things that we cherish most about our service provider partnerships is your candor to inform our technology roadmaps. When I think about several years ago, you all were beating us up on a regular basis, saying the technology tools just simply aren't good enough to manage this partnership. And we listened and we took it seriously, and we have invested millions of dollars. So looking forward, which is all that matters, how can we build a more fruitful future together? There are a few themes that I want you to be on the lookout for. One is not to exceed management. How can you manage these not to exceed scenarios so that the customers get the real-time insights they need and your technicians get the real-time insights they need so that they're not wasting their time? And we think technology can really help these scenarios. The second technology theme is change order management. Again, we know that change orders can create frustration on both the service provider and customer side, and we have a lot of desire from our customers to get this manifesting from within our technology. The third one is asset data collection, so that we can leverage our asset database to help everyone in the TELS ecosystem make better decisions. And the last is a streamlined billing process. What I love about all 4 of these themes is that we believe that based on combining both your feedback and our customers' feedback, we get a lot of simultaneous value where both sides get exactly what they're looking for. So again, hold us accountable to that, because the whole point of this massive investment is to make us easier and better to work with and ultimately drive more growth in the senior living profession. Now, those 4 themes I just rattled off, we still do view those as prerequisites for the value that we will ultimately create for all of you via artificial intelligence. And I won't do the whole spiel this afternoon, but it's a little known fact that the Milwaukee School of Engineering, which happens to be 10 feet away from our innovation center in downtown Milwaukee, was the 2nd accredited artificial intelligence program in the country and houses the most powerful supercomputer in the Midwest. It's in the top 10 in the United States. We are using the faculty members that we're funding and the students that we are hiring from that program, along with the supercomputer that we are borrowing, to create an artificial intelligence platform that can fuel your businesses with cutting-edge technology to help your business succeed both within senior living and outside. And so more to come on that theme, because we think that we can really offer a helpful hand to your business, and we're excited what artificial intelligence can mean to your business's growth. Now, in every one of these calls, because we're running a little short on time, we do like to do a service provider spotlight. And this time, we're highlighting our T for T power users. Now, as a reminder, T for T stands for TELS for technicians, and that's just the technology that technicians are using for checking in, checking out, capturing notes, etc. And it's really the backbone of the TELS business, because it creates those real-time data feeds that our customers value so much. And it's the reason that they get in TELS Building Services contracts. So our power performers for T usage for today's webinar are D Mechanical, SSI Services, Smart Care, the Tustin Group, Ivy Mechanical, Crawford Mechanical, Rymar Business Enterprises, Portland Mechanical, All Temp Mechanical, CMS Mechanical, and Climate Solutions. And we really thank you all for your tremendous work on driving T4T usage with your technicians. And if you don't see your name up on the screen, we hope to see you up here for our service provider spotlight during our next call. And since we're talking about an award rooted in technology utilization, I'll just reiterate one more time that we like to have all of you engaged in how we create our technology and do user experience testing with us. So if you would like to be part of shaping the technology of the future in senior living, reach out to your market manager, and we'd love to get your insights, because that's how we build all of this stuff. So that's all my prepared commentary for the day, but it looks like we had several questions roll in. So I'm going to start rolling through them right now. All right, number one. You mentioned in the past that Direct Supply can offer PPE. Can I still purchase PPE from Direct Supply? Short answer is yes, you can. If you reach out to your market manager, who's the person that you received the invite to this webinar from, they'll have you fill out, I believe, just a brief one-page credit application, and then you're able to start getting any PPE that you might need. One thing I might add to that, especially for the HVAC providers on the phone, we have been doing these installations of needlepoint bipolar ionization hardware across the country. If you need access to that, we can also help hook you up there as well, knowing that you might be able to keep a whole lot of other folks safe with their indoor air quality initiatives. So just reach out and we're happy to help. Next question. Where do I go to refer a service provider to TELS? I think all you should really do is go to www.tels.net/connect. That's where we house all that stuff. So you want to refer someone, go to the website, to TELS Connect. If you're struggling with that, just reach out to your market manager and they'll help you out. Next question is, how can I update or expand my coverage area with TELS? So we're currently building a really slick feature in TELS so you can do this digitally as a self-service tool. That'll be on the horizon here very shortly. In the meantime, reach out to your market manager, and that's why I did bring up the point earlier. We have grown a lot, so make sure that we know if you happen to cover an area where we have grown into recently. Next question, how can I get more work from TELS? So just because it's been a fun refrain, I'd say you can obviously work with your market manager on coverage areas and rates, et cetera. But I'd say a more useful answer to that question is go to your TELS Connect dashboard and check out the metrics and make sure they're best in class. What ends up happening with most of our remediation plans, when people ask this question, our market managers find one or two key statistics that when they grow, the growth kind of comes along with it, the revenue growth. And so I would say over-communicate in working with us on which metrics to really focus on. Know that communication is really the key. And I just advise you to find one or two key metrics. And if you make progress, it's amazing to see how the growth follows. Next question is, how is TELS positioned to handle divestitures of senior living facilities? This one only makes me laugh because I feel like it's been the story of my life recently is managing divestitures in the senior living space. There's a high likelihood if one of your customers with us hasn't gone through some kind of a change of ownership yet, it will next week because there's a lot of activity going on in the business. The good news is that Direct Supply is not just synced up with the healthcare operators, but also the real estate investment trusts that tend to own many of the buildings. And so we're managing the relationships at the highest levels we possibly can with the CEOs of the REITs as well. And what's nice is when there is a change of ownership, the acquirer tends to use TELS too. And so we have a very high success rate of retaining this business. But if you experience specific customers where you think that the change of ownership is going to cause a problem, let's work together because this is a scenario that Direct Supply is very used to dealing with. Next question, looks like I've got a few more here. What is the best way to submit an invoice? So I think the best way is you receive an email chain requesting the service with your invoice attached, just reply all to that. If you reply all, that'll make sure that the invoice gets to all the right folks. If you're struggling with that process or you're doing that and it's not working, reach out to your market manager and there might be a more specific way that we can help your issue. Next question, how do I get an NTE, a not to exceed limit, increased? So to get an NTE increased, you can always call us 24/7 at 888-225-7729 to request the NTE increase. You can also complete through TELS Connect. And so talk to your market manager to make sure that you find the best way for your business to get those NTE increases. And last question, this is a good one. It's an important one, so listen up. How do you find out who your market manager is? Brilliant question, since that seems to be my answer to everything. Your market manager is simply the person who sent you the invite to this webinar. So feel free to reach out to that person, and as you can tell by the majority of my answers, they're going to be a really strong resource to help you grow your partnership with TELS Building Services. It is 1:28. I don't see any more questions that have come in. And so this is perfect. We try to wrap these things up on time. I can give you the gift of 1 extra minute back in your job. Can't thank you all enough for your participation in TELS Building Services and the network, and for joining our cause to protect America's aging population. We really appreciate everything you did throughout the pandemic, and please keep in touch as we continue to grow this business together. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great afternoon.